The rain fell anew like tears from an angry sky. Ho sat alone in his small apartment and watched the water run down his window. He had not moved from his chair for 3 hours. The bottle beside him was almost empty. His tablet made a sound, a new message. He did not want to look at it. Messages meant people and people meant questions. How are you doing? Are you eating well? Have you thought about going back to work? He was tired of lying to them. But something made him pick up the tablet. The message was from the Colonial Fleet Administration, official business. He opened it and read the words slowly. Notice of decommission. The vessel registered as Gilded Sparrow, formerly under command of Captain Ho, is scheduled for scrapping. Date of final inspection, 14 days from notice. All personal items must be retrieved before this date. Ho read the message again. Then again, his hands started to shake. The Gilded Sparrow, his ship, his home for 23 years, the place where his daughter took her first steps, the place where she died. He threw the tablet across the room. It hit the wall and fell to the floor. The screen cracked, but the words still glowed in the darkness. For 3 years, Ho had tried to forget that ship. He left his captain's chair 1 week after the accident and never looked back. He moved to this small apartment on a colony world where nobody knew his name. He took jobs at the docks, loading cargo, fixing old machines. Simple work that kept his hands busy and his mind quiet. But his mind was never truly quiet. Every night he saw her face. His little girl. His brilliant daughter who grew up to be an engineer. She had served on his ship, worked in his engine room, called him captain when they were on duty and when they were alone. The reactor malfunction took her in seconds. That is what the report said. Instantaneous. No pain. Her body was recovered and cremated according to space protocol. Ho was not there when it happened. He was on the bridge, reviewing star charts, planning their next route. He did not even know something was wrong until the alarm started screaming. He remembered running through the corridors. He remembered the smoke and the heat and the crew members trying to hold him back. He remembered screaming her name until his voice broke. They would not let him see her body. They said it was too damaged. They said it was better to remember her as she was. Ho finished the bottle and walked to where his tablet had fallen. He picked it up and read the message one more time. 14 days. Then the Gilded Sparrow would be cut into pieces and melted down for scrap metal. He could not let that happen, not without seeing it one last time. The next morning, he called an old friend. Jinwoo had served with Ho for 15 years before taking a security job at the orbital shipyard. They had not spoken since the funeral. Ho, Jinwoo's voice was careful, surprised. Is that really you? I need a favor, Ho said. He did not bother with greetings or small talk. I need to get on my ship before they scrap it. There was silence on the other end. Then Jinwoo sighed. The Gilded Sparrow is in restricted storage. Nobody is allowed on board without clearance from Fleet Command. I know, that is why I am calling you. Ho, I could lose my job. One night, that is all I need. One night to walk through those corridors and say goodbye. Jinwoo was quiet for a long time. Ho could hear him breathing. Finally, he spoke. Fine, I will get you in, but you have to be quick and you have to be quiet. If anyone catches you, I will deny everything. Thank you, old friend. Do not thank me yet. I still think this is a bad idea. 3 days later, Ho boarded a cargo shuttle heading for the orbital shipyard. He wore old clothes and carried a small bag with a flashlight and some tools. He looked like any other dock worker, which was the point. The shipyard was a massive structure floating in orbit above an industrial moon. Hundreds of ships waited here for repairs, for new crews, or for death. The Gilded Sparrow was in the graveyard section, where old vessels were stored before scrapping. Jinwoo met him at the secondary airlock. His old friend looked older now, gray in his hair and lines on his face. They did not hug or shake hands. Jinwoo simply handed him a security badge and pointed down a long corridor. Dock 7. The ship is powered down, but emergency systems should still work. You have 6 hours before the morning shift arrives. Do not make me regret this. Ho nodded and walked away. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. The corridor to Dock 7 was dark and cold. He passed other ships, dead vessels with dark windows and silent engines. They looked like graves. Maybe that is what they were. When he reached Dock 7, he stopped. There she was, the Gilded Sparrow. She floated in the darkness beyond the viewport, connected to the station by a single docking tube. Her hull was dirty and marked with old scars. Her running lights were off. She looked dead. But she was still beautiful to him. Ho took a deep breath and walked through the docking tube. The airlock opened with a hiss of old air. He stepped inside and felt the familiar floor beneath his feet. He was home. The emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in a dim red glow. The air was stale but breathable. The life support system was still working, barely. Ho walked slowly through the entrance corridor, running his fingers along the wall. Every step brought memories. Here was where Ah had scratched her name into the metal when she was 8 years old. There was the spot where she spilled juice, and they spent an hour cleaning it up together. He could almost hear her laughter echoing through the empty halls. Then his communicator made a sound, a proximity alert from his shuttle's sensors. Something had triggered the motion detectors. He looked at the small screen and felt his blood turn cold. There was a life sign on the ship. Something alive was moving through the lower decks. Something was in the reactor room. Something was exactly where his daughter had died. Ho's hands trembled as he stared at the blinking dot on the screen. The ship was supposed to be empty. The ship had been empty for 3 years. But the sensors did not lie. Someone was here, or something. And it was waiting in the place where he had lost everything. Ho stood frozen in the red emergency light. The life sign on his scanner was not moving now. It sat there like a heartbeat, pulsing softly in the darkness below. His first thought was simple. Someone broke into the ship, a thief looking for valuable parts, a homeless drifter looking for shelter. There were many such people in the outer colonies, forgotten by the great systems of humanity. But something felt wrong about that explanation. The ship had been sealed for 3 years. The security systems would have alerted the station if anyone forced their way in. Ho put his scanner back in his pocket. He could leave now. He could walk back through the docking tube, tell Jinwoo what he found, and let security handle it. That would be the smart thing to do. But he had never been very good at doing the smart thing. He walked deeper into the ship. The corridors of the Gilded Sparrow stretched before him like the inside of a sleeping beast. Everything was covered in dust. Old papers and empty containers floated in the low gravity. Nobody had cleaned this place in a very long time. Ho passed the crew quarters, 8 small rooms where his people used to sleep. The doors were open, the beds empty. Personal items still sat on the shelves. Photos of families, books, small toys. The crew had left in a hurry after the accident. He stopped at one door. The name plate said Engineer Ah. He could not bring himself to go inside, not yet. Instead, he continued to the bridge, the command center of the ship, his throne room for 23 years. The bridge was exactly as he remembered. 5 stations arranged in a half circle around the captain's chair, view screens covering the front wall, star charts on the display panels. Everything was dark and silent, but when Ho touched the main console, the system slowly woke up. Lights flickered, screens glowed. The ship recognized her captain. Ho sat in his chair and started working. His fingers remembered the commands even after 3 years. He pulled up the sensor readings and confirmed what his personal scanner had shown. 1 life sign, Deck 4, Engineering Section, Reactor Chamber. His stomach turned. That was where Ah died. He pulled up the ship's logs next. Everything from the day of the accident should be here. The recordings, the sensor data, the emergency reports. He wanted to understand what happened. He needed to understand. But when he accessed the files, something strange appeared on the screen. A warning message. Files modified. Original data archived. Ho stared at the message. Modified. Someone had changed the records. He dug deeper into the system. The computer showed him when the changes were made. 6 hours after the accident. In the middle of the night. After the investigation team had already filed their initial report. Someone had come back and altered the evidence. Ho felt his hands grow cold. He checked the authorization code used for the changes. Every modification to ship records required a code. Someone with high clearance had done this. The code belonged to Admiral, the head of Fleet Command himself. Why would the highest officer in the colonial fleet change the records of a simple reactor accident? Ho leaned back in his chair. His mind was racing now. For 3 years he had accepted the official story: reactor malfunction, equipment failure, a tragic accident that took his daughter's life. He had blamed himself for not checking the systems more carefully. He had carried that guilt every single day. But what if it was not an accident? What if there was something more? A sound broke his thoughts. Footsteps, soft and light, moving through the lower decks, the same direction as the life sign. Ho stood up quickly. He grabbed a heavy tool from the emergency kit on the wall. It was not a weapon, but it would work if he needed to defend himself. Then he left the bridge and headed for the stairs. The lower decks were darker. The emergency lights down here were failing, flickering on and off. Ho used his flashlight to guide the way. His footsteps echoed in the empty halls. He passed storage rooms filled with old cargo. He passed the water treatment facility, now dried up and silent. He passed the secondary power station, its generators cold and still. Then he noticed something strange. The walls were different here. They were covered in something. Thin crystal patterns that spread across the metal like frost on a winter window. They glowed with a soft blue light. They were beautiful. Ho touched one of the crystals. It was warm, alive. These were not here before. These were not part of the ship. Something had grown here in the 3 years since he left. He followed the crystals. They grew thicker as he walked, covering more of the walls and floor. The air grew warmer. A strange smell filled his nose. Not bad, but different, like flowers and electricity mixed together. The reactor chamber was ahead. The door was sealed with emergency locks. A warning sign said danger radiation zone, no entry. But Ho could see through the small window in the door. The crystals inside were everywhere. They covered every surface, glowing and pulsing like a living heart. And in the center of the room, surrounded by light, something moved. It was not human. It was not any creature Ho had ever seen. It appeared as a shape made of light and crystal, roughly the size of a person but constantly changing. It had no face, no features, just light and color flowing together like water. Ho's hand trembled on the door. His mind screamed at him to run. Every instinct told him this was dangerous, alien, wrong. But the creature saw him. It turned toward the window, and Ho felt something touch his mind, a voice that was not a voice, a feeling that was not quite a feeling. It said, "I have been waiting for you, Captain." The door unlocked itself. It slid open with a soft hiss. Ho stepped inside the reactor chamber. The crystals surrounded him. The creature floated before him. And in that moment, everything he thought he knew about his daughter's death began to crumble. The creature spoke again, its voice echoing in his head. "My name does not matter. Your daughter called me the Wanderer. She saved my life. And now I will tell you the truth about hers." Ho could not speak. He could not move. He could only listen as the alien began its story, a story that would change everything. The Wanderer floated before Ho like a dream made solid. Its body shifted and changed, crystals forming and dissolving in endless patterns. Light moved through it like blood through veins. It was the most beautiful and terrifying thing he had ever seen. Ho found his voice. It came out rough and broken. "What are you? How do you know my daughter?" The Wanderer's thoughts filled his mind. They felt gentle, like a soft hand touching his brain. "I am old, older than your species, older than most stars in this part of the galaxy. I have traveled between worlds since before your ancestors walked on two legs." Ho shook his head. He did not want philosophy, he wanted answers. "Tell me about tell me what happened to her." The creature was silent for a moment. Then it moved closer and the light around it grew softer, warmer. 300 years ago I came to your home system, the one you call Sol. I was looking for a place to rest, a safe harbor. Something hunted me across the stars and I was tired. Images appeared in Ho's mind. He saw Earth from space. He saw the moon and Mars and the stations that floated between them. He saw them as they were centuries ago, when humanity was still young among the stars. "Your people found me near the edge of the system. They were afraid. I tried to speak to them to explain that I meant no harm, but they did not listen. They sent ships. They sent weapons." Ho felt shame wash over him. He saw the attack through the Wanderer's eyes, the missiles, the explosions, the terrible pain as weapons tore through its body. "I fled. I had no choice. For centuries, I wandered the empty spaces between stars, healing slowly. I avoided human ships and human worlds. I learned that your species was dangerous, that you destroyed what you did not understand." The Wanderer paused. Its light dimmed slightly, like a person lowering their eyes. "Then 30 years ago I returned to human space. I was dying. The wounds from that first attack had never fully healed. I needed energy, radiation, something to feed on, and I found this ship." Ho's heart pounded. "The Gilded Sparrow." "Yes, I hid in your reactor feeding on the energy. I was careful. I took only small amounts, hoping no one would notice. But your daughter was a good engineer. She noticed." New images filled Ho's mind. He saw in the reactor room, her tablet in her hands, staring at the strange readings on the screen. She was younger then, maybe 25. Her hair was tied back. Her eyes were sharp and curious. "I expected her to report me. I expected her to call for help, to bring soldiers, to finish what your people started centuries ago. But she did not." Ho watched his daughter approach the Wanderer for the first time. He saw her fear, yes, but also her wonder. She was not reaching for a weapon. She was reaching out her hand. She asked who I was. She asked if I was hurt. She asked how she could help. Tears began to fall down Ho's face. That was his daughter. That was exactly who she was. She had never been able to walk past a wounded animal or a crying child. Her heart was too big for her small body. "For years we spoke in secret. She fed me energy from the reactor. She brought me information about the galaxy, and in return I taught her things. I showed her wonders she had never imagined. We became friends." The Wanderer grew brighter again. There was love in its light, Ho realized. Real love for his daughter. But then we were discovered. Someone noticed the energy readings. They reported it to Fleet Command. Admiral himself came to investigate. Ho's hands curled into fists. What did he do? He wanted to capture me, to study me, to take me apart and learn my secrets. He said I could be a weapon for humanity, a tool to conquer other species. The Wanderer's voice grew heavy with old pain. Your daughter refused to help him. She stood between me and his soldiers. She said that some things were more important than power, that kindness was not weakness. Ho covered his face with his hands. He could imagine it perfectly. Small and stubborn, standing against the might of Fleet Command. She must have been terrified, but she would not run. She never ran. The Admiral gave her a choice. Help him capture me or lose everything. Her career, her freedom, her family. She chose to protect you, Ho whispered. Yes, we made a plan together. We would fake an accident, destroy the evidence, make everyone believe she was dead. Then we would run, find a safe place far from human space, and build a new life. The images showed Ho the night of the accident. He saw Ah working quickly, setting up the false reactor malfunction. He saw her preparing a small escape pod. He saw her crying as she recorded a final message. Something went wrong during our escape. The Admiral's ships were waiting. Ah told me to hide here to wait for the danger to pass. She took the escape pod alone, trying to lead them away from me. I was too weak to follow. I was too weak to protect her. Ho looked up at the Wanderer. Is she alive? Is my daughter alive? The creature was silent for a long, terrible moment. Then it moved to the wall, where a small device was hidden among the crystals. The device glowed, and a hologram appeared. Ah, his little girl. She looked older in the recording, tired but determined. She spoke directly to the camera. If you ever find this, I am sorry. I could not tell you. They would have killed us both. They would have used the Wanderer to hurt people. I could not let that happen. Ho reached out his hand, trying to touch her face. His fingers passed through the light. I am still out there. I escaped. I am hiding, building something new, something good. There are others like me, people who believe that humanity can be better than our fears. She smiled, and Ho felt his heart break and heal at the same time. Find the Wanderer. It will lead you to me. I love you. I always have. I always will. The recording ended. The room was silent except for Ho's quiet sobs. The Wanderer spoke again, its voice filled with hope. Your daughter is alive, Captain. She has been waiting for you. And now, if you are ready, I can take you to her. Ho wiped his eyes. He looked at this strange alien creature, this ancient being that his daughter had loved enough to sacrifice everything for. He understood now. He understood why she did it. Yes, he said. His voice was steady now, strong. Take me to my daughter. Ho moved through the ship with new purpose. His grief had transformed into something harder, sharper. His daughter was alive. She had been alive for 3 years while he drowned himself in sadness and alcohol. 3 years wasted. He would not waste another moment. The Wanderer followed him, flowing through the corridors like a river of light. Its crystals had spread throughout the ship, connecting everything. It could feel the walls, the engines, the systems. The Gilded Sparrow was no longer just a machine. It was alive. We cannot simply leave, the Wanderer explained. The station has security systems. They will detect our departure. Ho sat in the captain's chair and started activating systems. His fingers moved across the controls like they had never stopped. Let them detect us. By the time they respond, we will be gone. The Admiral has been hunting your daughter for 3 years. He has ships throughout human space. He has spies everywhere. If we run, he will follow. Ho turned to face the Wanderer. Then we fight, we hide, we do whatever it takes. I am not leaving my daughter out there alone. The Wanderer pulsed with warm light. You remind me of her, the same fire, the same stubborn heart. Ho allowed himself a small smile. Where do you think she got it from? He continued working, bringing the ship's engines online for the first time in 3 years. The Gilded Sparrow groaned and shuddered. Old systems fought against new demands. Warning lights flashed across every screen. But the ship held together. She was old, but she was strong, just like her captain. Ho's communicator buzzed. It was Jinwoo, his voice tight with panic. Ho, what are you doing? The station sensors are going crazy. They think the ship is coming back online. It is, Ho said calmly. Are you insane? Security will be there in minutes. Fleet command will be, you will be arrested or worse. Then I suggest you get clear of the docking tube, old friend. I am leaving. There was silence. Then Jinwoo spoke again, his voice different now, softer. Is this about Ah? Ho closed his eyes. She is alive, Jinwoo. She has been alive this whole time, and I am going to find her. More silence. Then, go, I will delay them as long as I can. Good luck, old friend. The connection ended. Ho opened his eyes and gripped the controls. Wanderer, I need you to help me navigate. You know where we are going, I do not. The alien's light flowed into the ship's systems. Star charts appeared on the screen, marked with a route that led far beyond known space. It would take weeks to get there. They would need fuel, supplies, and more than a little luck. The docking clamps released. The gilded sparrow drifted free of the station. Ho pushed the throttle forward, and the old engines roared to life. The ship shot forward like a bird finally released from its cage. Behind them, alarms sounded on the station. Security vessels began to launch. But Ho was already calculating the jump to faster-than-light speeds. In moments, the gilded sparrow stretched and blurred, then vanished into the darkness between stars. The chase had begun. For 3 days they ran. Ho pushed the ship hard, jumping from system to system, trying to stay ahead of pursuit. The Wanderer helped, showing him hidden routes and forgotten passages through space. They moved like ghosts, leaving no trail. But Admiral was not a fool. He had spent 3 years hunting He knew how to find people who did not want to be found. On the 4th day, they emerged from a jump near a dying red star. Before them, blocking their path, was a fleet of military ships. Destroyers, cruisers, and at the center, the Admiral's personal flagship. Ho felt his heart sink. There were too many of them. He could not fight and he could not run. A communication came through. A face appeared on the screen. Admiral was an old man, but his eyes were cold and sharp like knives. He wore his uniform like armor. "Captain," he said, his voice was polite but empty. "I was hoping we could talk." Ho gripped his controls. "I have nothing to say to you." "That is a shame, because I have much to say to you. I know what you carry on that ship. I know what you have learned. And I know where you are going." The Wanderer's light flickered with fear. Ho felt its worry in his mind. "Your daughter is a criminal," continued. "She stole military secrets. She helped an alien enemy escape capture. She has been spreading dangerous ideas throughout the colonies. Ideas about peace with aliens, about cooperation instead of conquest." "She saved an innocent life," Ho said. "That is not a crime." Laughed. It was a cold, ugly sound. "Innocent? That creature nearly destroyed one of our colony ships 2 centuries ago. Its kind are ancient and powerful. If we do not control them, they will control us." "That is a lie. The Wanderer never attacked anyone. Your records were changed. You covered up the truth." The Admiral's smile faded. "Surrender the creature, Captain. Surrender it and I will let you go find your daughter. You can live together in peace. All I want is that thing you are carrying." Ho looked at the Wanderer. It floated beside him, its light soft and sad. It was old. It was tired. It had been hunted and hurt for centuries, and now it was willing to sacrifice itself to save him. "No," it said in his mind. "Do not give me to him. He will use me to destroy worlds. I have seen his dreams. They are filled with fire and death." Ho turned back to the screen. "The answer is no, Admiral. We are not surrendering." His face twisted with anger. "Then you will die. You, the creature, and everyone who follows your daughter's foolish dream. Humanity's future lies in strength, not weakness. In conquest, not cooperation. I will burn every sanctuary, destroy every hope, until our species stands alone at the top of the galaxy." "You are wrong," Ho said quietly. "That is not humanity's future. That is just your fear." He cut the communication. Then he turned to the Wanderer. "Can you broadcast a message? Not just to these ships, but to everyone. Every colony, every station, every ship in range." The Wanderer pulsed with understanding. "Yes, but what will you say?" Ho stood up from his chair. He straightened his old coat. He thought of his daughter, of her courage, of her kindness. He thought of all the people like her, scattered across the stars, hopping for something better. "I will tell them the truth." The Wanderer connected him to every communication system in the sector. His face appeared on screens across 100 worlds. Soldiers and civilians, workers and leaders, all stopped to watch. Ho spoke. "My name is Ho. Many of you know me as a captain. Some know me as a father who lost his daughter. But today, I speak to you as a human being." He told them about about her choice to save an innocent life, about the Admiral's lies and his hunger for power. "My daughter believed that humanity could be better than our fears. She believed that we could reach out our hands instead of our weapons. She was willing to lose everything for that belief." His voice grew stronger. "I am asking you to believe it too, not because it is easy, not because it is safe, but because it is right. The stars are big enough for all of us. We do not have to burn the galaxy to feel warm." The Admiral's ships moved closer. Their weapons began to glow. "This is who we can be," Ho said, "if we choose it." Then he waited for the galaxy to answer. For a long moment, the universe held its breath. Ho stood on the bridge of his old ship, facing a fleet of warships, waiting to die. The Wanderer's light had grown dim. Even hope had limits. Then the first ship appeared. It was not a warship. It was a cargo freighter, old and battered, emerging from hyperspace behind the Admiral's fleet. Then another appeared, a passenger liner, then a mining vessel, then a small yacht, then a dozen more. Ships came from everywhere. Civilian vessels, trading ships, transport carriers. They formed a wall of metal and light between the Gilded Sparrow and Admiral's fleet. None of them were armed. None of them could fight. But they stood there anyway. Ho's communication system lit up with incoming messages. He opened one at random. "This is the cargo ship Eastern Moon. We heard your message, Captain. We stand with you." Another message. "Transport vessel Bright Harbor here. My grandmother fled the old colonies because of men like the Admiral. I will not let it happen again." And another. "Captain, I served under Admiral for 10 years. I saw what he did. I saw what he hid. Not today, not anymore." The messages kept coming. Hundreds of them. Thousands. People from every corner of human space, all saying the same thing. "We heard you. We believe you. We choose something better." Admiral's voice came through the command channel, sharp with fury. "All ships, open fire, destroy them all." But his fleet did not move. Ho watched in amazement as lights flickered on the military vessels. Officers were arguing. Crews were refusing orders. On one destroyer, the crew locked their captain in his quarters. On another, the weapons systems suddenly went offline. The Admiral's own officers were turning against him. "This is Captain Park of the destroyer Thunder's voice." A new voice announced over the open channel. "Admiral, you are relieved of command. By order of the fleet officers, you are under arrest for falsifying military records, unauthorized weapons development, and crimes against peaceful beings." His flagship tried to flee, but his own escort ships blocked his path. Within minutes, it was over. The Admiral was taken into custody. His terrible dreams of conquest died with his command. Ho collapsed into his chair. His hands were shaking. He could not believe what had just happened. One message, one act of desperate honesty, and the galaxy had answered. The Wanderer's light grew bright again. It flowed around him like a warm embrace. "Your species continues to surprise me," it said. "Fire and fury, yes, but also this, the ability to change, to choose light over darkness." Ho wiped his eyes. "Can we continue now? Can you take me to my daughter?" "Yes, Captain, the path is clear." The Gilded Sparrow moved forward. The civilian fleet parted to let them through. As they passed, lights blinked on every ship, salutes and farewells and good wishes for the journey ahead. The jump to hyperspace was quiet. Ho sat alone with his thoughts as the stars stretched and blurred around him. He thought about everything that had happened, about his grief and his guilt and the 3 years he had wasted in sadness, about the truth he had finally learned, about his daughter waiting somewhere in the darkness. The journey took 2 more weeks. They traveled through regions of space that no human had ever mapped. The Wanderer guided them past dead stars and empty worlds, through nebulas of color and light, until they reached the edge of everything. There, hidden in the shadow of a quiet moon, was the sanctuary. It was not a single building. It was an entire community. Domes and towers spread across the moon's surface, connected by covered walkways and surrounded by gardens that grew under artificial light. Ships from a dozen species were parked at the landing pads. Beings of all shapes and sizes moved through the streets together. "Your daughter built this," the Wanderer said with pride. "With others like her, humans and aliens working together, creating a future that your admiral feared." Ho brought the gilded sparrow down to the landing pad. His hands were trembling again, but not from fear this time, from hope, from joy he had almost forgotten how to feel. The airlock opened. He stepped out onto the solid ground of the sanctuary. The air was clean and warm. Birds from a dozen worlds sang in the artificial trees. And there, walking toward him across the landing pad, was Ah. She was older now. There were lines on her face that had not been there before. Her hair was shorter, streaked with early gray. She wore simple clothes and work boots, but her eyes were the same, bright and warm and filled with stubborn love. She said. Ho could not speak. He could barely see through his tears. He walked toward her, then ran, and then they were holding each other in the middle of the landing pad, two broken people finally made whole. "I am sorry," she whispered into his shoulder. "I wanted to tell you. Every day I wanted to tell you." "I know," he said. "I understand now. You did what you had to do. I was so scared you would hate me." Ho pulled back and looked at his daughter's face. He touched her cheek, wiping away her tears. "Hate you? Ah, I have never been prouder of anyone in my life. You saved a life. You built this place. You showed the galaxy what humans can be." The Wanderer emerged from the ship behind them. Its light had changed, grown stronger. It was finally healing, finally safe after centuries of running. Ah reached out her hand, and the Wanderer touched her fingers with tendrils of light. Old friends, reunited at last. Around them, the sanctuary continued its quiet work. Humans walked with aliens. Children played together without knowing they were supposed to be enemies. Scientists shared knowledge. Artists created beauty. 1,000 small acts of kindness and cooperation, building something new from the ashes of old fears. Ho looked at it all and felt his heart grow larger than he had ever thought possible. "What happens now?" he asked his daughter. Ah smiled. It was the same smile she had worn as a child, full of wonder and possibility. "Now we keep building, we keep teaching, we keep showing people that there is another way. And the fleet, the Admiral's supporters. They will come around eventually. Change is slow, but it is coming. You started something today, the message you sent, the way those people stood up for you. That was the first crack in the wall. More will follow." Ho nodded. He understood. The war was not over. The fight for a better future would take years, maybe generations. There would be setbacks and failures and moments of despair. But for the first time in 3 years, he believed it was possible. He put his arm around his daughter's shoulders. Together, they watched the Wanderer rise into the artificial sky, spreading light across the sanctuary like a blessing. "I thought I lost you," Ho said quietly. "For 3 years I thought you were gone, and now I find you here at the edge of everything, building a new world." Ah leaned her head against his shoulder. "I learned it from you. You always said the stars were for everyone, that the universe was too big for any one species to claim alone." "I said that every night when I was little, before I went to sleep." Ho laughed softly. He did not remember saying those words, but somewhere deep in his heart he knew they were true. Above them the stars burned with quiet light. Billions of worlds waiting to be explored, trillions of lives waiting to be lived. And at the edge of it all, one small sanctuary where the impossible was becoming real. Where humanity had finally chosen to be better than its fears. Where the stars were kind. Ho held his daughter close and watched the night sky bloom with possibility. For the first time in 3 years, He felt like he was home,